Welcome back to another episode of Trash Talk. I'm Jon-Bernard. This is Nick. We are the K-Roos brothers giving you the fight news around the world. Nick, it's the end of 2024. We're going to do a UFC 2024 in review. This is a skit we want to do around everything this year, but it's a big 2025 coming up. We're going to give you our 2025 UFC predictions. I want to start off with, Nick, what match do you want to see the most in the UFC next year?
Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. I feel like as a UFC fan and like many other UFC fans, this is the fight that needs to happen. Tom Aspinall has been campaigning for it for over a year now. Jon Jones, whether he's been ducking or not, I don't think he's been ducking, but many fans claim that he is ducking. That's the fight I want to see because Jon Jones, I feel like, is the greatest of all time, unquestionable. And Tom Aspinall will be the heavyweight GOAT. He'll be the heavyweight greatest of all time. The way he moves, the way he punches, he's so quick, athletic, agile. Everything about him as a heavyweight makes him a step above all previous heavyweights. And then Jon Jones in that equation makes it the biggest fight of all time. They're going to give him his 30 mil as well. So just giving him 30 mil makes the fight that much more must see. So that's the fight I want to see. What about you?
The fight I want to see in 2025 in the UFC is Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev. I think Ilia is the person to knock Islam off the pedestal as the pound-for-pound number one, and he can only do it if he goes up to lightweight. I know Islam wants to go up himself, to welterweight, but I just think if Ilia can have one or two more wins in the featherweight division, I don't know if it's going to happen next year, but he's a big enough star for it to happen next year. So I want to see Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev for a double champ. Give him the lightweight champion. I want to see if he can get it done. I don't know if his wrestling can match up. I definitely think his striking can. Ilia is the best striker in the UFC. I want to see that happen the most.
Well, that'll just be Conor McGregor versus Khabib too. The hype, I know people have drawn comparisons of McGregor to Ilia Topuria, the tattoos, the way they fight, whatever, the arrogance. But that'll just be Conor McGregor versus Khabib to Islam versus Topuria. And it's the biggest fight because really, Topuria can match it with him on the ground. People that have seen his early fights know he's a BJJ specialist. He can actually do a lot. And then Islam is an all-round great fighter. The size disadvantage to Topuria, I think, will cost him. I just think Islam is too big. He's already a weight bully at lightweight. Imagine he's versing another featherweight. You saw the size difference against Volk.
Yeah, Topuria wants this, though. He's come out and stated it that he wants to be the one to take the title from Islam. I think he personally can do it. I think, Islam's greatest test. But again, he probably needs to prove himself in the lightweight division. Go up against a Charles Oliveira. Go up against a Dustin Poirier. Win a fight and then challenge for the title.
Or just have two more featherweight defenses. If he has two more featherweight defenses, I think that warrants a lightweight title shot. The same way Volk had many title defenses before he versed Islam. If Topuria runs through Volk again, then Diego Lopez, there's not really much more, unless he wants to verse Evelev, but really, there's not much more he can do in the featherweight division, so he can go up.
Well, let's go around the grounds on Twitter. Khamzat Chimaev has gone at Dracus Duplessis. Now, Khamzat...
No, get it straight. DDP went at Khamzat first, okay? Khamzat's innocent in this situation. He's just responding to DDP.
Okay, so if we go through it, DDP put up a photo of him catching a dead fish, dead shark.
It was a shark. It was a shark.
Hammerhead shark?
I think it was just a normal shark. I don't know if it was about a hammerhead. I think you can usually see. But DDP did put up a post of a shark and said, please stay away from the shark, otherwise you end up with your lip like Khamzat. So he's taken a jab at his physical appearance.
It was a jab. Khamzat responds and said, I see two dead fishes.
Exactly. So he's then assuming that he'll kill him.
Yeah,
he'll actually kill DDP, which I think he can do. You saw the footage of the broken jaw of Robert Whittaker.
It's very interesting because Khamzat's going to be in Australia when DDP is defending his title against Strickland.
It's confirmed?
It's confirmed.
He's led in the country?
He's going to be in the country in February, probably in attendance. So the winner of DDP versus Strickland is going to have a face-off with Khamzat in the cage. That's going to be frightening in itself. But he's basically saying, I see two dead fishes. I see myself beating you. And I think he's right. I see Khamzat as the next champion in the middleweight division.
Look, I know DDP has become known now to be one of the best trash talkers in the UFC.
Probably, if we had to go best trash talker of 2024, it's DDP.
He's made two people cry. That's, to make a UFC fighter cry, you must be insulting him pretty well.
His online trash talk as well is like top notch.
You've seen him go at people like Bilal Muhammad. You've seen him go at other fighters as well, Sean Strickland. But to go at Khamzat, I'm just saying, DDP, tread carefully. I mean, the guy's a psycho. Yes, he's obviously become a lot more calm since he's had his kid. You saw him at UFC Abu Dhabi. He's a lot calmer, a lot more reserved.
You don't want to rub shoulders with the dictator. You got to be careful. If you're going at Khamzat, you're going at Chechnya.
That's what I'm saying. Just tread carefully because Khamzat is someone who is unstoppable in the UFC. He hasn't lost a fight. He doesn't look like he's going to lose either. And DDP, your fight sometimes like a bit uncoordinated. I know the people have said it online, the memes about how we fight, the big overhand hooks, but it just does seem like just, I don't know, you don't want to have a cold take. You don't want to be someone that gets found out later. So DDP, I understand it was a good jab. I mean,
it was very funny.
It was very funny.
Yeah, they're very good.
But I wouldn't say that, is all I'm saying.
I'm intrigued to see it, and I think we will see down the line Khamzat versus DDP. I think that's what we're going to see. But
Do you think he beats Strickland?
I think so, and he's going in as favourite for a reason. But we'll cover that when February rolls around and giving our predictions. But talking about UFC Sydney, another week has gone past. No Volk on the card. Is it done? Volkanovski not going to be fighting at UFC Sydney? I mean, we've got 2 months.
It's not happening. It was never happening.
It's less than 2 months.
As soon as DDP versus Strickland was announced as the main event, Volkanovski was never on the
But
card.
we haven't even heard of JDM versus Usman. There hasn't been another marquee fight on the card other than the main event.
I think Alexandre Topuria is on the card.
Yeah, but again, this is his first UFC fight. Okay, yes, he's a Topuria brother, but he's not Ilya Topuria being on the card.
You know what? When I saw Topuria was on the card, I'm thinking, okay, maybe Ilya is going to make the trip down with him as well. So that means that maybe Volkanovski versus Lopez could be on the card. There's an excuse for Topuria to come to Australia if he's not fighting.
I think Ilya would want to be in his brother's corner, but I don't know if it's worth the 24-hour trip to Sydney.
Well, if they're a part of the same team, he's always in Ilya's corner, so it would make sense for him to both travel down. I know Khabib didn't come to Perth, or he doesn't come to Sydney or Australia when there's Dagestani fighters on the card, but you make an exception when it's your own brother.
Listen, I'm just saying, unless the UFC is just letting this Christmas and New Year's period go, they need to make an announcement pretty soon of who else is going to be filling up this Sydney card.
And it's unfair because the LA card in January is stacked.
Super stacked.
It's stacked. You got Jamal Hill, Yuri Prohaska, you got Merab versus Umar, and then you got the big main event, Islam versus Arman. We've got nothing. We've got DDP versus Strickland. That's really it. Like, give us some big names. Give us some marquee names. I know there might be some underrated fighters on there that I'm not, too, keen on seeing, but I want to see some big names on the card.
It would be very interesting to see. I think they're going to wait to announce it potentially after UFC 311.
Yeah, but I feel like that's way too late. Like, you're waiting. That's the next pay-per-view. Usually, pay-per-view announcements, they're at least 2-3 months before. At least, and if you're going to put a big marquee matchup on there, you need at least more than a month's notice.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be a Jack Della announcement. If he doesn't get announced for Sydney, he's going to get announced for UFC in March.
London.
Or UFC London. Yeah.
It has to be because there's no other fight for him to really fight. He's got to really first Leon Edwards or Kamaru Usman. They're the only two fights that make sense for JDM. But apparently he's still injured. I don't know, from what you see online and what you've seen from people reporting about his arm injury, he's not going to be coming back anytime soon either. So I don't think he's going to be on the Australian card.
Okay, rumours have been circulating online of who is Alex Pereira's next opponent. Now, Nick, he's come out and said it's not going to be Ankalaev.
He made an Instagram post, not Ankalaev. He put it as simply as that.
Which is, listen, not to say that everyone's been going at John Jones for ducking. If you're Alex Pereira, are you ducking?
Well, this one's not his fault because
why?
If it's UFC 313 in Vegas, that falls in March, which also falls in the month of Ramadan. So you can't fight Ankalaev's. That's Ankalaev's fault. So that's not, Pereira would fight him. It's just Ankalaev can't fight during Ramadan.
I just feel like he's the one fighter in the light heavyweight division he just continually misses. Like, really, he should have faced him in Utah.
Yeah,
that
made no sense. Why did Ankalaev versus Rakic for? If Ankalaev was the true number one contender, he didn't need to prove it to anybody.
He's done enough in that division to earn a title shot. He's probably the most feared opponent in that division for Pereira. So the fight needs to happen. But if it's not Ankalaev, who does Pereira face next?
Okay, so I think Carlos Ulberg is fighting Jan Blachowicz. So if whoever wins that fight will maybe fight Pereira. But again, if they're fighting at UFC 313 in Vegas, that's really, hard for them to back up on short notice after that. And then you saw rumors last week. There was Khamzat Chimaev versus Alex Pereira going around on Twitter, going around on the internet.
That would be huge.
That would be a massive fight. But again, how does Khamzat go up in weight and get a title shot? It just wouldn't make sense. There's a lot happening. As much as that is a money fight, that is a danger fight for Pereira as well. Very dangerous matchup. So I don't know what the UFC wants to do. But if UFC are planning for a fight for Pereira in March, I don't know. I genuinely don't know who it can be.
I think Khamzat is a great shout with Trump being in office. I think Khamzat has no visa issues. He can go straight in. But if it's not Khamzat, I think it's potentially another contender in the light heavyweight division. If it's the winner of Ulberg versus Blachowicz, I think they're going to have to wait a bit, and he's going to have. And I think he's due for some time off. He doesn't have to turn around and fight. I know his last fight was in Utah, but again, I see him fighting maybe twice this year.
Again, he does deserve a break, but he's also 37 years old, on the back end of his career. And if he does want a super fight against Jon Jones at heavyweight, he must need to actually get through at least 1 to 2 more title defenses at light heavyweight first. But the thing is, I don't know who it can be. There's literally Ankalaev, and that's really it. So he's got to verse Ankalaev first, but seeing as he won't fight in March, it's not going to happen until later in the year.
Okay, we did touch on it, but Alexandre Topuria is going to make his UFC debut at UFC Sydney. Nick, he's the older brother of Ilia Topuria.
Yes.
Are we expecting a dominant Topuria win?
Well, I want there to be a dominant Topuria win. Look,
Going up against Cody Haddon.
I get we're brothers, so I can see when Topuria is in the ring after Ilya's victory, when they're rolling around backstage after a great win, I can feel like, it's awesome to be that brother in that moment.
But Ilya's got big raps on him as well.
And I hope he wins. I don't know who Cody Haddon is. I'm sorry if I'm disrespecting you by not knowing you, but I want Topuria to win. I feel like it's just like...
You do. You want like a dominant brothers in the UFC.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that since the Diaz brothers, really. Have you seen another pair of brothers
Not that
running
I can,
rampant
not
in
that I think
MMA?
off the top of my head. I mean, I know...
Apart from like cousins and
Yeah,
the
like
jacuzzi.
Umar, Khabib, and in Islam, they're all brothers and cousins. They're all like a part of the same team. But this
Easy
is
there.
direct brothers. Like, it'd be nice to see them both having a good career. Do you know what weight class he's in?
I'm pretty sure it's a featherweight.
So again, same weight class as well.
Mm.
It could be nice if maybe Ilya goes up, then Alexandre takes the title in that division as well. It's just stuff you want to see. Another Georgian fighter in the UFC. I want to see him win.
Well, he allegedly has very similar stand-up boxing skills. I don't know how his wrestling matches up with Ilya's, but again, if you're looking at Ilya being one of the dominant strikers in the UFC, I'd like to see how he goes. And it's going to be interesting how the Australian crowd treats him as well, because after what Ilya did to Volk, he's not the most popular man in Australia.
Anyone with that Topuria last name's probably going to get booed.
Exactly.
But not from us.
No, I'll be behind Alexandre 100%.
And look, I've seen Ilya's training footage, the facilities he has. I'm pretty sure Alexandre's got the same access to these facilities, whether it's the hyperbaric chamber, that own gym in their house in Spain.
Chirotherapy.
So
in the
if you're
house.
getting access to this level of training,
Professionalism.
I'm pretty sure he's going to win this fight.
Okay. Well, Nick, let's go into who will be the champions in the UFC in 2025. Who will be the flyweight champion in the UFC?
At the end of 2025, I expect Pantoja to retain his title. I don't think there's anyone in that division that can beat him. I understand that Kai Kara France is probably going to get the next title shot. I do think Pantoja beats him. And then judging by Manel Kape's last performance, I think he gets the next title shot after that. And I think Pantoja beats him as well. So if Pantoja fights twice this year, he wins both of those fights and he's the champion.
Next up, we've got bantamweight, and I'm going to say it. He's not the favorite going up against Umar, but Merab is going to hold the champion all of 2025.
Yes, at the end of 2025, Merab will be champion again.
He's saying he wants to be very active in 2025.
He wants to be
as well.
very active, and he wants to hold the belt for a long time. He wants to be someone that has a long title reign. His biggest test will be Umar. Once he gets through Umar, if he does, he can maybe fight Peter Yan or Sugar Sean
He'll
again.
have a Sugar Sean rematch and beat him again.
And he'll beat him again. So that's why at the end of the year, he'll probably be champion. I just feel like he's too strong of a fighter and someone that is, he deserves to be UFC champion. He's worked so hard for this. If you look at his backstory, he's not going to give up the title that easily.
Featherweight champion, if he doesn't vacate it, it has to be Ilia Topuria.
Well, it's your prediction at the end of 2025. Will he be champion?
Ilia Topuria will be featherweight champion.
I agree.
I think he goes on a run through that division. You see how he's beaten the likes of Max Holloway, Volkanovski. I think he just starts running through contenders in that division and starts looking to vacate and go up.
Exactly. But by the end of 2025, he will still be champion. And potential fights, Volkanovski in Spain, he'll win that. And then maybe Diego Lopez later in the year, he'll win that. And then he'll go up to lightweight in 2026.
Who will be the lightweight champion in 2025?
Islam will still be. There's no one in that division that can beat Islam. He'll verse Arman, then maybe Charles Oliveira. And if he does go up before the end of the year, he'll still be lightweight champion. He's someone that's just good everywhere, and he can't be beaten.
Who will be the welterweight champion?
Islam Makhachev. He's winning champ this year. He's the double champion at the end of this
Very
year.
bold.
Whether he versus Shavkat, whether he versus Bilal, it doesn't matter. Islam will be a double champ by the end of 2025.
I honestly think Bilal loses, and it's not to Islam, it's to Shavkat Rakhmonov. The new face of Kazakhstan behind Borat. It's going to be Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think he improves on his fight from Ian Gary. He said he came in there with an injury. I think he's going to show his dominant performance and probably be a size mismatch for Bilal when they have their eventual fight this
Which
year.
will probably be somewhere in the mid-year. I don't know. He will definitely won't main event a card. It'll be a co-main event. But I think Islam beats him. I think they're going to make the super fight this year. He's teased it too many times for it not to happen.
Middleweight champion in 2025, I'm going with Khamzat Chimaev. I think he finally gets his opportunity, and Khamzat will be the future middleweight champion.
Yeah, if he versus either Strickland or DEP, he's getting his title shot this year, and he'll walk through both of them.
It was way too dominant against Rob Whittaker. I think he's finally deserved a title shot. and he's going to get it. I think it's going to be sometime mid-year.
Yeah, and when he does fight, I just can see it going the exact same way it went against Whittaker. He's just going to overwhelm his opponent with his wrestling and get a submission.
Light heavyweight champion in 2025.
Sharma. Alex Pereira. He will verse Ankalaev, and whether he versus any other fighter, he goes to heavyweight again. Who will hold the title at the end of 2025? Alex Pereira. He's too good. He's on a generational run right now to becoming one of the best light heavyweights of all time. It's Alex Pereira.
And the most anticipated heavyweight champion. Who is your heavyweight champion in 2025?
My heavyweight champion at the end of 2025 will be Tom Aspinall. Not that he will, I'm not saying that he will beat Jon Jones, but by the end of the year, Jon Jones will have vacated the title and Tom Aspinall will have beaten another heavyweight to hold the title. That's all. That's my prediction. It's a bold prediction.
Let's be honest. If it is going to be Jon Jones versus Aspinall, it's going to be July, June they're talking about, right? That means Tom Aspinall's probably going to fight once this year.
No, he'll
Once
fight
in the coming year. Maybe again in December. So really, out of 2 fights, you got to back Tom Aspinall both times.
No. He can win one.
You can't just say he's going to vacate it and just be interim and then...
No. So what will happen is Jon Jones will beat Tom Aspinall in International Fight Week. Then he will retire. Title becomes vacated.
That's not what Jon Jones wants to do.
Cyril Gane versus Tom Aspinall in December for the vacated title. So at the end of the year, Tom Aspinall is the undisputed heavyweight champion.
I don't see it going that way. Jon Jones has already said he wants to fight 2 more times.
He says a lot of things. He also wanted to retire after New York.
He wants to make as much money as he can in the UFC. I love Tom Aspinall. I think he's going to be Jon Jones' biggest contender, but I see Jon Jones being the heavyweight champion at the end of 2025, whether he faces Tom Aspinall again and has a super fight against a Pereira or another contender at heavyweight. Jon Jones is the greatest fighter of all time, and he's going to prove it against Tom Aspinall. And that's someone that loves Tom Aspinall. I think he's going to be his biggest contender. I just think Jon Jones is too good. Jon Jones is going to be a heavyweight champion in 2025.
Out of all the divisions, though, the pick that I'm least confident in his heavyweight. Like, that's the hardest one to pick. I can't tell whether Jon Jones or Tom Aspinall will be champion at the end of the year. The rest of them, I'm pretty confident in. I might put a futures bet on because I just feel like it's almost a guarantee that those people are going to be holding those titles at the end of the year.
There's got to be some markets for that. Like, you can bet on the NRL Premiership. You can bet on the AFL Premiership in 2025. Give me a list of champions in the UFC. Let me pick them for the end of 2025.
You should see the NFL.
Ladbrokes, let's make it happen.
The NFL futures markets, you can pick over-under on wins. You can pick who's going to win which division, who's going to win which conference. I'm pretty sure these markets should be allowed.
We need to revolutionise the UFC betting because I'm telling you, these markets are coming up just on the day of.
Yeah.
I need to be picking them in advance to get the most value. You know what I mean?
Especially when I'm most educated and most confident.
UFC 2025 predictions. Will these happen? Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler in 2025.
That will not happen, unfortunately, for Michael Chandler. Conor McGregor is going to be too busy in India. He's going to be too busy probably shooting other movies, too busy with some court cases as well.
Yeah.
It won't happen in 2025.
I
Sorry,
think
Michael.
this is the year it finally happens. Now, there's rumours online that Chandler goes up against Paddy Pimblett in UFC in London. 100% not confirmed yet, but I do think we finally get to see Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor says, hey, you've earned it, kid. I'm going to give it to you. This is the year. All right, this happened after the court case. He wants to get back in. But 2025 is finally the year we see McGregor return, and it's going to be against Chandler.
Not happening.
Jon Jones beats Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, it can happen. Yes, it will. Yes, it can happen or will happen.
Will it happen?
Yes, it will happen. I'm sorry, Tom. I just think he's the greatest fighter of all time, and there's one rule in the UFC: don't back against Jon Jones. The guy's never lost, and he'll continue to never lose. That's how I'm programmed to think.
I mean, you want to see greatness. I think that will happen in 2025 as well. Jon Jones retains a heavyweight champion.
But if there's a fight that he can lose, it's against Tom Aspinall. The size and speed, it makes sense, but it's just hard to pick against Jon Jones.
Pantoja moves up to bantamweight.
I don't think it will happen. I just don't think the UFC is interested in him becoming double champ. It's nothing against Pantoja. He's a lovely guy. It's just I don't think they want him to go up because one, he's likely to lose, and two, it doesn't really sell. I don't
think it's about that. I think there's enough contenders to keep him busy next year. So if you look at his next fight, Kai Kara France, say he beats him, then you got Manel Kape as a contender. Then they're talking about Figueiredo coming back down and setting up that, rematch super fight for him. So that's 3 fights already that you're talking about potential next year. He doesn't need to go up to bantamweight. Leave that for 2026 if you do conquer that division.
Yeah, I feel like he deserves to go for a bantamweight title shot if that's something he wanted. I just don't think the UFC is interested in making that happen, which is kind of slack for him, but that's the business.
Merab dominates the bantamweight division.
No, he just wins? If he
goes on a Volkanovski-like run. I mean, he'd say he wins his next 3 fights at bantamweight.
Look, I think the next fight is his biggest test of his career. Umar is someone that matches up against him in wrestling. matches up against him. I think Umar's a better striker as well, which is going to give him a lot of trouble. But if he does get past Umar, I can see him dominating the division because you saw him against Peter Yan, you saw him against Henry Cejudo, and you saw him against Sugar Sean. He was just so dominant. It was just dominant. The whole fight, he was just killing them. The takedowns, the smothering. Yeah. So if he gets through Umar, then yes, he'll probably be one of the best bantamweights of all time.
Now, will we see a double champ in 2025?
Islam Makhachev, I've said it before on this episode. I expect him to be a double champ by the end of 2025, whether it's Belal or Shavkat.
He's not going to face his Muslim brother, Belal.
Well, Shavkat's Muslim as well, so I feel like people are drawing these like imaginary lines of he's not going to face a Muslim fighter. If Belal's in his way, and this is something that he's manifested and it's something that he wants, he will become double champ.
I think we will see one, but it could be either Ilia Topuria or Islam. And if they give Ilia the green light to go up, it could be either one. But again, I think you're right. I think we finally see the return of the double champ in 2025, and it's either Islam or Ilia Topuria.
Habib's spoken about it. Islam's non-stop spoken about it. There's no one left for him to face in his division.
Thing for him.
Yeah, it's like, and the fact that there's actually no contenders beyond Arman Sarukian in his division, like he doesn't have to verse Charles Oliveira again. Charles lost to Islam and lost to Arman, so realistically, Islam doesn't have to verse him if he doesn't want to. He can go up and go for the champ status.
Okay. Kayla Harrison becomes a UFC champion.
That should be paying $1.01.
Yeah, I think that she's just going to dominate. She honestly, the prediction should be she fights in a men's division.
Yeah, I feel like that would be a more realistic discussion than her actually winning the championship.
Which her manager suggested.
Yeah, Abdulaziz kind of wants it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Okay. But she will become champion.
And who will be the fighter of the year in 2025?
Islam Makhachev. I feel like this is his year. He's fighting in January. I expect
more active.
I feel like he's going to have a very active. I reckon he's going to fight 3 times this year. I reckon he'll fight Arman, Charles, and then Belal or Shavkat. Double champ, 3 wins. There's no other fighter that's going to have that on his resume in 2025.
And there's our UFC Bold 2025 predictions. Nick, is there one fighter that you want to see have a good 2025? One, like, yes, we love our Ilia Topurias. We love Tom Aspinall. I want to see him, win the champ. I want to see an upset. And he's gone into that fighter's favorite. But is there a fighter you see, I hope they have a good year?
Look, after watching Khalil Roundtree's latest, I don't know if it was a vlog, I just saw a clip of it on Twitter. After seeing his post-fight reaction to Alex Pereira, I kind of want him to do well. Okay. I want him to bounce back well because he just said he had a lot of fun in there. Even when he lost, he was smiling. He was fighting with the best and tested the best, and he knows it's an attainable goal. I've grown a lot of respect for Khalil Roundtree. Mm-hmm. I like his fighting style as well, so I want him to do well in 2025.
We've mentioned this a lot in previous episodes, but I want to see some of the OGs, Volkanovski, Kamaru Usman, Israel Adesanya. I want to see one of them reclaim gold. I don't know if it can ever happen, but sometime next year, I want to see them on the road to coming back to their best and what a story will be. So I'm invested in them. And then as someone I want to follow, who's been very nice to us, Paddy the Baddie.
Yeah.
I want him to have at least 2 fights this year.
It's hard.
Get some good wins and become a lightweight contender. You know what I mean? Get real deep in the rankings.
When you interview fighters and they do give you a good interview, I automatically want them to win the fight.
Yeah.
So Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett, if that fight does happen, I'm conflicted because both of them are great blokes. Both of them have been very, very nice to us. So it's very hard for me to pick a winner in that fight.
Who goes in as a fan favourite in that fight?
Well, if it's in England, you would expect the American to be the villain. So Paddy Pimblett should be the favourite, but he's from Liverpool.
I don't know if he's won the crowd back over yet.
Yeah, I know that.
And
Gordon
Michael
fight in
Chandler,
London.
after flat backing twice against Charles Oliveira, the people like Michael.
Yeah, but he's also a bit delusional for thinking he's going to fight Conor McGregor. So I don't know if the English fans will like an American. That's all. I'm just playing on the nationalistic, characteristics there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Nick, massive Japanese super fight happening. We've got our very own Sam Goodman going to Japan, the Tokyo Dome, to go up against, some say, the best fighter in the world, in a way.
I think he is pound for pound the best fighter in the world right now.
We caught up with some boxers last week. George Kambosos was one of them. We also caught up with Liam Action Jackson, who gives his prediction to Sam Goodman versus Inoue coming up in January. Here's what he had to say. I'm here with Luke Action Jackson here at Alpha Gym. Now, Luke, how's the retirement been? I know I've been seeing you on TV. You've been attending a lot of boxing events. You're still a big fan. How's retirement?
Yeah, it's quite tough, to be honest, fighting that battle to come back and have one more. But it's always, I think everyone struggles with that. Always maybe one more fight. So I'm just hopefully trying to convince my partner to give me a child, so that'll keep me busy.
Okay, there
So
you go.
that's the next goal.
Are you still in the gym, keeping fit, keeping active?
Yeah, I train every day. I train every day, more so for my mental health than anything. But I love training. I love boxing. I'm like Georgie. We're always in the gym, and it's part of my life. So yeah, every day.
Now, big Aussie fight coming up, super fight over in Japan. It's been delayed. What do you make of Sammy Goodman going down with a cut, pulling out of this Christmas Eve fight? What do you think of heavy sparring before going into a fight like that?
Look, heavy sparring, I believe, cost me a lot in my career. Doing too much heavy sparring is no good for you. You've got to be smart. And I mean, especially leading into the fight, I don't know what they're doing with the head guard Sammy's wearing. Maybe he likes that brand, I don't know, but the guy's getting paid nearly $2 million and he's wearing an old school fucking head guard. Like, I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, unfortunate thing to happen. I like Sammy. I remember when he was a little kid, I won the Nationals in Tasmania and he won the Nationals there too. And he sent me a message saying, one day, can we train together? And I eventually ended up bringing him into camp when I fought Frampton for the world title. He's one of my main sparring partners. So to see him go from that little kid to now fighting for the undisputed world title, I'm very proud of him, and I wish him all the best.
Now, he's going up against Inoue. It is January 24. They say if he wins, it could be the biggest upset of all time in Australian boxing history. They're talking even potentially Buster Douglas. How do you think he goes against Inoue?
Look, I'm a realist, man. Look, I'd love Sam to win, but I can't see it happening. Like, especially in Japan. I mean, I don't want to lie on camera and say, oh, this and that, but I can't see anyone beating Inoue.
Yeah.
If I was in there with Sammy, we still probably lose. You know, like, it's he's that good, brother. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I hope I'm wrong, and I really do. I'm always going to back the Aussies, but I can't see anyone beating Inoue, and I hope I'm wrong.
Now, last one. Is there anyone in retirement that you see on the Oz boxing scene that you could potentially come back and face? Who kind of interests you when you're watching these no limit cards here in Australia?
So that's fighting right now. Look, anyone that's going to pay me some money. I mean, the last fight I fought on the No Limit show, I got paid $5,000. So unless they're going to start paying me some more money, people say, "Why don't you fight? You're looking good," because I don't get paid enough.
Yeah.
Like, I spend 4 or 5 weeks not working, training, and then you get paid $5,000. So if anyone wants to pay me more than $5,000, I'm happy to fight anyone. That's the way it is.
With some people coming into the boxing landscape, we see DAZN making a play for Foxtel. There could be some room to see Lukey, Action Jackson back, mate. We'd love to see you back. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.